This is season 9, episode 37, number 385, but it's the first episode of summer school for season 9.
Yep.
And look at this, Rochelle is right in there. Happy summer right off the get-go. I love that. Happy summer to
Yeah.
you too, Rochelle. Rochelle, if you don't mind, give us an update. Give us an update. Um, However you want to update us. Where are you next year? If we hear from you, great. And if we don't, no problem. I'm still at Benny's. Chris, are you still at the same school next year?
Yep. Still at Huron. Yep. Still
Okay.
at Huron. Huron, not the one in, because I think there's one in Kitchener, Waterloo, or Cambridge.
There is a
There's a Huron
Huron.
Heights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
that
at
one.
not that one. Not that one.
And
Um,
GM to Gary. Sorry I keep interrupting you, man. It's like I don't
oh,
want
man.
to talk. I ask the question, then I drop some words. And I ask the question, I drop some words. So I'm
Very
going to be
aggressive.
quiet.
Very, very aggressive.
Staying the same, but with a 3 and a 4-5. With a 3 and you're teaching 3 grades? Let me call the union
Nice.
on that one. Okay, sorry,
Nice.
Chris. Huron.
Yep. Yep. Still at Huron. Same program. Same program. Still doing spec ed. Where it was left is grade nines. So working with grade nines incoming. So that's the space that I asked for. I said I like that space, working with the nines coming out of grade 8, helping them kind of transition into the school, all that on-ramping stuff, helping them understand their IEP. And in many cases, the kids have had no direct experience in managing or self-advocating, and helping them to sort of understand kind of like the scope of power and agency that they now have, and also helping the parents understand that if they can back off just a little bit and let their kids drive the boat. It's all that kind of stuff.
I like it. I like it. And I know you go deep with your work, so it's going to be. I like that. It sounds to me your work is so funneled. Like I like that. Am I getting
Mhm.
that right? Like, is it fair to say that it's
I
very? It seems niche.
It
No.
is also, in the world of, like what I see as like my priority list for nines is that it reminds me a lot of what it's like to be a first year teacher. So you, as a teacher candidate, when you may have a practicum in June, and let's say you have the good fortune to secure a contract for September, you are you get to kind of luxuriate in your student side all the way up to that first day after Labor Day. And then you are officially a teacher with all the bells and whistles and responsibilities. There's nothing left to hide behind. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to the system, to a degree, that you have never taught before. It doesn't matter to the system that you haven't had the full menu, full options turned on for you. You arrive as a fully invested, a fully vested, a fully vested teacher with all the expectations that come along with that. And that, I've observed several times, is stunning for some people. Just the things that, because you're not in direct line of responsibility, that there's things that even, practicums are tough, but there's a lot of invisible things that you don't have to deal with in your practicum, which are being managed by your associate teacher, your teacher mentor. There's only so many things that you have access to. You don't see the full menu. So the grade 8s coming into grade 9, it's very similar. They've spent already an academic lifetime learning learning to be a student and what it means to navigate an education system and the humans in it. But they arrive at 9 and they realize they haven't been looked. Couldn't even imagine this next level of the system. So helping them kind of navigate that from that perspective, I've always found fascinating. And I meet the kids that have never had any active agency in their own decision making. And I have the other ones that roll up. They're like, yep, I get it. I know exactly what I need for my environmental accommodations. I know exactly what I need for my assessment accommodations, my all these things. All these things. I know what I need to learn. And it's really cool. It's really cool to help them then take all whatever that kit looks like and tone it up for use in high school. I dig that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I want to. I've got 1,000 things up here, and only
So,
probably two will come out. So,
okay.
as we were checking in with Rochelle, so Rochelle's filled us in 3 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Yeah, okay. I forgot that you were a French immersion teacher. So you've got. I get. Are you the French Rochelle for the 3 and the 4 or 5? I'm assuming you are. And so the 4 or 5 in the morning's gonna get their English because you're gonna teach them French in the afternoon. That's what I'm thinking. I was gonna say Gary, as far as I know, and I love speaking for Gary, as far as I know, Gary's still at the same school, but because of Gary's position, Gary could be moved anytime, anywhere. I know that in our district we have certain times of year where we stereotypically report to the system admin moves. Stereotype, like, there's a trend, but someone could retire tomorrow, somebody could be promoted tomorrow, and then they're like, Gary, you're now going here. You know what I mean? Um, so I wanted to say that because why not? Yeah, the French half sounds good, and the rest is gone. There it goes. I knew that. Oh, new teacher, a fully invested teacher. This was interesting to me. I'll tell you why. As you're talking about this, I'm flipping through my brain, my second period exams. I'm in the room. I'm prepping the room. Well, the room's prepped, but I'm doing like little things to kind of make sure I'm ready to go. Teacher walks in. This teacher's been in the school for 3 weeks, and she's she's not young. She's not old either. Like, she's not a brand new out of faculty teacher. She is second career teacher, but made the jump from whatever she was doing in her first career to teaching, like, still relatively early, right? So let's say she's in her 30s. She comes in and she's like, I'm here to drop off exams for some kids. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you're in the right place. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm like, who are you in for? She tells me, and she's like, are you so and so? I'm like, yeah. She goes, yeah, yeah, we've talked on email about these kids. I'm like, yeah, nice to meet you or whatever. Great to see you in real life. And I'm like, how's your 3 weeks been? She's like, it's been nuts. Like, I'm ending a semester and I don't know these kids and I'm trying to figure it out. Now I've got an exam and I'm gonna have to mark the exam. And she's giving me she's giving me all the things that nobody cares that you're here for 3 weeks, because, like, here you are, sign here, go to room 321, this is your schedule, thanks for coming in, we'll see you later. And she has to do all the things that a teacher has to do. It doesn't matter where you are in the timeline. This is what happens at this part of the timeline. You just have to do it, right? There's no. So she's in the room and she's talking to me about some stuff, and I'm feeling. I can see it in her face, and I can hear it in her voice that she's fully vested. But, like, oh my god, I don't even know where to start. But I have to because this is my job. So she gives me this stuff. I'm like, yo, I don't know why you're giving me these exams. These kids aren't going to be with me today. And I'm I think maybe to an outsider, it may have looked like I was not being sensitive and I was not reading the vibe she was giving off, but I kind of was. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, the bell's going to ring in 5 minutes. I'm going to have 25 kids coming in here. I got to get them started on their exams, make sure they're not cheating. The whole list of things I'm thinking about in my little head, right? Knowing that I'm vested and invested, but not brand new to what I'm doing. So I'm rolling with it. And she's like, whoa, hold on. I don't know what comes next. So she gives me this stuff, and I'm like, okay. And as she's talking, I'm taking the stuff and I'm putting them in my piles, organizing. And I look, I'm like, no, no, these kids are not with me. And I give them back to her. She goes, but I said, no. Remember the email? You wanted 5 kids in here. I told you I only had 3 spots. So we we triaged and we realized what two were not coming. Oh, right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm like, you're going to be fine. Go back to the room, make sure you're ready. So she leaves. And I'm rolling with it. Her 3 kids come in, they sit down, I give them the tests. I'm doing something else. I turn around, kids got their hand up. They're like, Mr. Chidiak, we have a problem. I'm like, what's the problem? You gave me my exam, but there are no questions. There's just 3 pages where I'm supposed to write the answers. And I'm like, okay, we'll get to that in a second. Whose class are you in? They tell me. I'm like, oh yeah, the 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 vested teacher who is only here for 3 weeks and now has to do exams, but is following a playbook that was given to her from the person who was there for the entire semester that just had to leave. I'm like, give me a couple of minutes. Don't worry, you're fine. And I'm thinking, some of these kids, I know them, right? They're like, Mr. Chidiak, I'm not going to finish in time if you don't give me my test. I'm like, whoa, you will have time. I'm not going to burn you because I'm dropping the ball. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. They're like, okay, which is great. I love that there's a relationship because I can say to Jimmy, yo, take some deep breaths, man. You're going to be good. You're not going to get shirked any. You're not going to lose any time. You're good. And in fact, all these kids get extra time. So it's like, don't worry about it. I make the call, teacher answers. I'm like, yo, it's Chidiak. Um, you gave me those 3 tests. You only gave me the answer portion section. You didn't give me the questions. Silence. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you have that stuff? She's like, yeah, yeah, it's right here. I'm like, I'll send somebody to get it. She's like, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm like, just focus on what you got going on. Someone's going to come up and get those. We're fine. After the exam, she's like, I'm really sorry. I'm like, relax. 3 weeks. You've been here for 3 weeks. You're managing behaviors. You're like collecting work from kids that they haven't done all semester. But now, credit rescue and this and that. You have to take what they give you, but you don't know what you're doing because you just got here. I'm like, I get it. It's fine. Not a big deal. It's a great story, I said, for, when you sign your permanent contract and someone's like, tell me about your first LTO. Like, oh my God, you got great stories. That's what these things are. So just take it easy. And I'm sorry if I wasn't very helpful at first. You came to me 5 minutes before I was supposed to proctor these kids. It's not good. Like, I'm in my zone. So vested, and whether you're invested or not, it's your responsibility. It all lands on you. And you can say whatever you want to say, right? Like, you can be like, I just got here. And I think people will be good with you, but it's not, there's no, I think people will be open to and feel you, but they can't do it all for you. You're going to have to do it. It's like with my new job in September, I can't walk around all day saying, well, I've never done this before. I don't know what to do, so I'm not doing it. For me, that's unacceptable. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to be like, oh, shoot, I don't know what to do. And I'm going to go and talk to one of the other counselors and say, hey, do you have a second? I got this. I don't know what to do. Give me the quick and dirty. Like, I'm smart enough to figure things out, but where do I go? Give me something. I can't just sit there and be like, well, I don't know, so I'm not going to do it. No, it's going to happen. I'm vested. And fortunately, I'm invested. So it's good. But I can't walk around like I can't walk around pretending I'm doing something when I'm not. That's me though, right? Like some people make a living out of doing working hard to do nothing. I see it all the time. And when it lands in my lap, I say, "Hey, this landed in my lap. It's not complete, or I don't know what to do with this because you gave me nothing. This is nothing. What do you want me to do with it?" Then like, and they're thinking, "Oh, I guess I have to do something now instead of working hard to do nothing because Chidiak's asking for something that needs to happen now." Thanks for listening to me about that. I at our a little get together yesterday at school. We had lunch as a staff, and then we said goodbye to staff members that were at the building. Dude, there was like 1,000 people who were in for a month and a half, 3 weeks. It's like
Mhm.
somebody walks up, and you know what I said to the person beside me? I said, "Oh my God, I didn't even know what she looked like. I've gotten emails from her about kids, but I didn't even know what she looked like. Now I know."
Mhm.
Thank you to Jimmy for coming in for a month to help out in the math department. I'm like, what? I don't know. I never saw that guy once. And then I was like, what happened to the teacher that left? There's a there's a lot of that, like, oh shit, Clough is gone? Clough's been gone for a month? I hope he's okay. And then the next name, and then the next name. And it's like my head was just spinning with all these people.
You start to realize that even in education, which I think is still presumed to be like this blue chip kind of investment, kind of a career. Like you're a forever teacher. If you can get in, you're stable, it's good. I can see this creeping element of the gig economy coming in. And this is this idea that, these kind of short term, you get 3, you get 4 weeks, you get 1 month, you get this short time span, this gig to come in and kind of do it, and then you're in and out. Those are the individuals just covering those pockets. Also, the counterpart to that, or what comes out of that, is like what you're talking about too, like the stories, like, oh geez, I didn't know Clough was away. Clough was totally all up in my DMs and emails. And like last semester, that's right, I haven't got one from him in a while. Damn, December? Really? He didn't even finish the semester? And you start to sort of, retroactively build a narrative as to like what kind of went on. And we don't really have the time for it, because really, if Clough isn't in one of your social circles as well as your work circles, you tend to just kind of move on, because there's just, you're right, there could be too many of those stories to chase, right? Um, that's
There's
always a fact. That's one of those kind of fascinating moments at the end of the school year, because the slide goes up of all the names. I don't know if you folks did that or if it was just verbal. For us, our principal puts up the slide for, the thank yous and the goodbyes and all that kind of stuff. You're like, dang, okay, stuff shifting again. And then there's always this kind of strange sense of distance. My perspective as being someone who I'm old enough now, I'm senior enough now that I'm not going to be surplused, definitely not redundant, right? I'm in that part, like that tipping point. The safe zone is a fairly narrow margin now. It used to be a lot wider. If you're like 5 years in, you're good. Then it got to like 7 years in, you're good. Now it's like you kind of need to be 10 to 12, 10 to 15 years in to not have any risk of surplusing. And it's just the way the environments are going right now and the funding models. So I'm in that last 10th of my career, last fifth of my career time zone, which, likely I'm just going to be left alone to kind of like do my job. The next slide that I'll be on is, oh yeah, by the way, Clough retired on Thursday, right? I won't be sort of like, that'll be the heads up that I'm gone. Go ahead. You're going to say something though.
I was just gonna say this. The high school machine is so big, or at least that I'm still getting used to how big it is, and I still don't know all the stuff. I will never know all the staff, just because of the way things are chunked. Um, like for the last 2 years, I spent most of my time in the spec ed wing. Right,
Yep.
next year, I'm going to be spending a lot of time on the first floor in the guidance and admin wing for most of the day, and then I'm going back up to spec ed. So it's like I don't get to the science department area. I don't get to the math department area or the English. Oh, so I had a situation with a kid a couple of weeks ago. I think I talked about it here. And when I called the teacher, I realized that the regular teacher wasn't there that day. So I notified the person that was in, and I just thought, okay, well, they will let the real teacher know because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But then um, this week, I was walking out to my car at the end of the day, and I saw one of my colleagues that I do know, and she was in her car, and she was parked in a funny spot on the way out. And I'm like, I gave her like one of these, like, what? You're in the way. Like, I'm trying to cross the street. She's like, oh, I'm just waiting for so and so. I'm like, oh, okay. And she goes, we're gonna go visit so and so. Well, Jimmy. We're gonna go visit Jimmy. I'm like, oh. And like, yeah. Did you know Jimmy's been away? Jimmy, Jimmy had like, Jimmy went to the doctor, had a procedure done, and then they wrote him off for the rest of the year. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know that. And I like Jimmy, and I've worked with Jimmy, so I'm like, well, it was one of those things where I was being given information because at the time it made sense, but I wasn't being told the whole story. Like I wasn't. There wasn't like, hey, you have 5 minutes, I'll tell you everything that happened to Jimmy. It wasn't one of those. It was just, oh, we're going to visit Jimmy because Jimmy had a procedure and now Jimmy's at home. And I was like, oh, and I'm like, I know Jimmy and I like Jimmy. Tell Jimmy I say hello and I hope they get better soon. Have a great summer. And
Hmm.
it was, I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, holy shit, like I didn't know Jimmy was gone. Right. And I, should I know Jimmy's gone? No, it's none of my business. But at the same time, that happens so much. I'm finding so much in my school over the last 2 years. It's like Jimmy's here one day, they don't see Jimmy for a week, and I just figure, well, it's because I'm on this side of the building, Jimmy's on
Hmm.
that side of the building, and then somebody will say, I'll say something, or they'll say something. I'm like, oh, well, what about Jimmy? And they're like, oh, Jimmy's gone. Jimmy's gone for the whole semester. Oh, and then I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, what happened to Jimmy? Tell me everything. No, I'm just like, okay, is Jimmy okay? Yeah, Jimmy's okay. Great. If you talk to him, let him know I say what's up. Right? Like I'm being kind. I like Jimmy, so I hope Jimmy's okay. But I'm not like, yo, give me the deets because I need to know what happened to Jimmy. I don't need to know what happened to Jimmy. But as I tell you all this, I guess one day I could walk into work and the next day I could walk out and be gone for the semester, and nobody's really going to know. Now, maybe in my position, people are going to know because I'm a go-to, right? Like, oh, geez, Clough failed this math test and has been missing a lot of school the last 2 weeks. I better talk to his IEP monitor. And then all of a sudden it's like, where's Roland? I need to talk to Roland. So me and the other monitors, we get a lot of that because we got all these kids that we work with, and when they're struggling, we're the go-to. So maybe people might notice I'm gone because they're just like, well, where's Roland? Well, he's gone. Oh, well, who's in for him? Well, nobody. Or Clough's in, but Clough doesn't know the IEP. Clough doesn't have access to the IEP system. Clough doesn't go to caseloads. Like, so maybe people would notice I was gone, but it's not, I don't need them to. I don't need that. And I don't need any emails from anybody or anything. But it's wild. Is it like that at your school? Or do you even know? Like, how do you even begin? Like in an elementary school, when I worked with Rochelle, If Rochelle was gone for more than 2 days, I'd probably say to somebody like, "Is Rochelle okay?" "Oh, she took a couple of personal days for her daughter's dance competition." "Oh, okay." You know, because it's so small. Even the big elementary schools are nothing like a high school. They're just not. So in elementary school, everybody kind of knows your business whether you like it or not, because it's such a small place and you're so intertwined. Like even the other day I went for a walk around my building before we started exams, and as I'm walking I saw one particular teacher, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up? Why are you outside?" They're like, "I'm on supervision." I was like, "Oh, this is your supervision?" "Yeah, it's my supervision." I'm looking at my watch like, "Oh yeah, it's lunch B." Like I'm in my own little world. I'm living my life. I'm out for my 10-minute walk before I go back to a computer. And I see this person. I'm like, "What are you doing outside? Like, you just hanging out?" "No, I have supervision." In an elementary school, everybody knows everybody's supervision. That's just the way it is. It's so small, everybody knows everything about everybody. So, like, of the peeps in your building, would you notice if Jimmy, who teaches history, is gone for 3 weeks?
So it's a couple different things. I'll go back to depending on your social connections, right? I would say that more times than not, your own department is entirely aware of this, if you've been off for a couple days. Um, or at least somebody in your department would know, depending on how enmeshed you are with your colleagues, if they're also sort of work friends, somebody in your department knows. I think because of the silo system, and it is a little bit more of a silo system in high school, like each department becomes its own little kind of like clique. um, and the size of high schools, and the fact that the actual department spaces are almost like provincially separated. Like the geography is all the way up in the back of the school, and math is down on the main floor. And like you said, you're now in the admin wing. The work that it takes to sometimes just relocate yourself to go have a conversation, it doesn't happen as much. You don't run into the same people when you're unless you always park in the same spot, come in the same door, and you see the same people coming in all the same time. So we're in on one hand, we're supported by our systems and our sort of habits, and then we're also limited at the same time. Location, system, habits, it all kind of creates your own little sort of communication network. um I think that when you look at educators that are in growing success roles, specifically guidance, spec ed, student success, alt ed, these are some of the glue and arterial kind of connections within education. Like by nature, I remember I used to say when I was alt ed head back in the day, like our department's nothing without the relationships we have to other departments, because I needed the other departments to be able to stay on track with what the current course load and courseware was. I didn't have experience direct. I didn't have math as a teachable. I didn't have history as a teachable. So I naturally had to include the thinking and the relationship from these other departments in order for, if a kid did come to alt ed, that the experience, at least curricular experience that they were having, was connected to the whole. The actual alternative and personalized element was up to sort of myself and my team to sort of make sure we were kind of creating that niche version of education. So spec ed, guidance, alt ed, sometimes the MLL teacher, these are all, because they're not necessarily uh, degrees unto themselves as a teachable area. They're the overlay or the framework that wraps around these curricular areas. I have the luxury of having connections to different departments, and even still, I'm not always privy to the information that happens in the department. So it's a mixed bag, right? Like sometimes I am the first to find out because all of a sudden I'm going in to support a classroom. I'm in there on Monday talking with a teacher, and on Wednesday I find out they're on a leave. So I might find out quickly that they're on a leave, but because of my social connection, I might not know the reason why. There's an LTO in there all of a sudden now trying to figure out the classroom. So that has happened frequently. That's happened frequently. And I just kind of say, okay, I mean, I have no right to know. I have no social relationship. It's not like they're texting me and saying, yo, Clef, I'm not going to be there. They have sometimes. Someone said that, I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I'm always cautious about being the cert in a classroom when the classroom teacher's not there, because I don't see it as my job to keep their classroom on track. And I have been asked to do that before, like where the teacher is going to be away for a couple of days and they like, yeah, it's okay. In their plans, they say, it's okay, go ahead with the test. Clough will be there. And I'm like, I don't like being put into that position because I'm not the primary. I'm not that person. I don't want to have that position of power. So that's a sidebar to what you're saying. But I have experienced that where I know the teacher, but I don't know the human that is the teacher because they don't share with me that background. Um, for me personally, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. I generally don't tell my colleagues the why behind my absences. I put in the system. I will tell them the what if I think that there's a hiccup that can be avoided by letting them know. So often I will message my head and say I'm not here tomorrow afternoon, and that's it. And I usually get a okay, thanks for letting me know. Like that's all it is. Everything else, there's automated and bureaucratic systems that I have to engage with in order to put my lesson plan in or to make sure things are taken care of. Have I during certain seasons also messaged admin? Yep, because I know that admin is presupposing that I may be taking care of something on a day in a certain way. And because I know I'm not going to be there, I can't take care of it in that way, aka monitoring a kid or communicating with a parent. So I'll give them a heads up. No, I'm not here. I'm out at a conference. If it's the one thing I do say is if it's a conference, I will say that. If it's a professional activity, I will mention that. If it's a personal or a family thing, I never mention it. I just say I'm not here. So, and those are even, the people that I would consider. And actually, it's funny we're talking about this. So the people that I would even consider work friends, even they wouldn't know. But it is interesting. I was in the middle of a conversation. Well, I was around a conversation that that the head said, friends don't keep secrets. And it was just kind of it was a loose conversation about something else going on. And I said, well, that explains a lot from my life. And everyone kind of starts laughing. I said, when I think about the number of friends that I have, it's probably because I'm resistant to that phenomenon. I'm very, very tactical when I think about who I'm going to sort of, give the full cloth to. So yeah, and that partially came out of because now that I've spent a year in this office, and I've told you about my experiences in the office. Sometimes I need to have my noise canceling headphones on. Sometimes I need to leave. Right? It's just too dynamic for me. But I have now, being in that space, opened myself up to sort of having more social conversations. Coming out of community classrooms, you naturally are on an island, and I've been doing those for a long time. So the only time I actually came to the mainland would be if I need like resource, right? Recon and resource. That's all I'm doing. And then I go back to the island and I develop for myself, kind of. But now that I'm actually on the mainland, in the spec ed office, engaging in those relationships has been kind of fascinating because sometimes I do find out the backstory because there are people that are very open. They're openly talking about stuff. My last comment on this is that there was conversations with some people talking about and I think it's probably because of my age. This last couple of months, people are like, so when are you retiring? And I'm like, okay, I present someone that's obviously in that demographic as close to retirement. And my answers tend to be from a very sort of like stock response. I say, well, my kids are just about to and going to be in post-secondary, so that kind of defines I need to keep working until we kind of figure out what their next stage is. So I said, kind of 6 or 7 years. By the numbers, I think it's 5.5. I think on my actual thing, I could retire in 5.5 years. But there's another element to this that I think I've said this to you. I said it to one person. I have said to somebody, I said, but you'll never know. You'll never know that I'm about to retire. They're like, what do you mean? I said, you won't know. I said, you'll know I've retired because either A, I was there working on Tuesday and I'm not there on a Wednesday, or I was there to the end of the school year and I'm not there in September. I said, my retirement will not be televised. Like there will be no public announcement that I'm about to retire. And Karen had said, but what about the slide at the end of the year? I said, well, if I really don't want to be a part of the slide at the end of the year, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my paperwork over the summer. And it was kind of funny at the end of the meeting, right at the very last thing. This last thing I'll say, you've got me you got me in flow here. But the very last thing before our principal yesterday in their slide deck kind of gave us the, have a good summer. He stopped for a moment. He's like, okay, I think we've taken care of all the goodbyes. He said, but has anybody else pushed the button during the staff meeting? As in, did anybody else just submit their paperwork for retirement? And I thought it was hilarious. Like, it's like, because we can do that, right? You can, you'll like this, back when I was doing restaurant business, they had this phrase, la roba gallina, and it translates to chicken thief. But they would use it as a reference, la roba gallina, and they would use it as a reference to individuals that sneak in the night and do something when no one else is paying attention. And they were referencing it, the competition stealing their recipes, like a chicken thief, like a fox, right? But that's how I will retire. I will retire like a chicken thief. Nobody will know. Nobody will know. Karen will know, right? But nobody's going to know. They're going to know. Nobody's going to know. They're going to know. I love it. I love it. Thanks for that. I loved riffing on that. And my now what moniker today. Like this is what I'm thinking. I like you flipped yours to summer school. I'm like, now what? Summer school, now what? It works together.
It's a nice balance. Mm-hmm. Now what? Well, summer school's right here, bro. Saturday morning summer school. Here we are.
I know.
And Saturday morning summer school is like the ethnic summer school, right? Polish schools on Saturday, Arabic schools on Saturday, those Chinese schools on Saturday. Those things don't happen.
I went to Polish school on Saturday for one semester, like one session. I did that.
So there you go. Yeah. So we are the ethnic version of summer school.
We're the adult. And I hated it. Now, though, I wish I had. I do wish I had. I wish I was stronger in speaking Polish. So, life, the lessons you teach me.
I was talking to my youngest about, he said, Dad, do you regret losing your Arabic? And I'm like, I kind of do. I do regret it. And I said to him, you know what? Pick it up where I left off, and you can go be a Canadian spy. And he just laughed. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know. What else are you going to do with your Arabic? Go and help the country figure out what's happening in the Middle East kind of thing. He just laughed at me. But I'm like, yeah, it's gone. I don't have it anymore. I watched an Instagram reel yesterday of some dude somewhere in Ontario who runs like a shawarma shop. And he was putting together a sandwich, a typical Arab snack, and it was pita bread and French fries and some veggies and garlic sauce, like a hardcore garlic sauce. And when he said the name of it in Arabic, I was slapped in the face with water of memories. So it's batata watum. So it's basically fries with garlic sauce.
So toum is the garlic sauce, right?
Toum is the garlic sauce, and batata are the French fries. But it just hit me because I remember the way he said it reminded me of my dad. Yeah. And then those words triggered me because we always had that stuff in the house. Like my parents, I remember, I had a flashback of a time when I was very young that my mom made me one of those sandwiches. It was just one of those things. I'm watching this thing and smacks me in the face. Memories just rush through, and I'm like, I was happy that I still have the cognitive capacity to make connections to some of the Arabic words I hear. So when I heard batata watum, I was like, I was, it was like it took me right back to when I was a kid, and I was proud of myself that I understand what both those words mean.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was saying to my son, I'm like, yeah, it's all gone. It's all gone, and it's like I tell him all the time. I tell both of them, I just didn't understand what I had until I lost it. Because when I was their age, I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be, not to be a white person, but to like, I wanted the things that I didn't have. I wanted pizza and hot dogs for lunch. I didn't want batata with tune for lunch. You're right. I wanted the cool haircuts. I didn't want the big curly afro that I had. Right. So I tell them now, I tell them, look, whatever you got going on now, my best advice to you, which you might not, there's a 90% chance you won't get what I'm saying because you're not ready or just not going to sink in till later. Own what you got, own who you are, and live it up to the max. Because when I think back, if I had been trained or taught to own who I was and what I was and what I had, I don't know. Maybe I would have been in a different place today. And I'm not saying I wish I was. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering because what have I lost? I lost a lot of pieces of my cultural heritage, my language. It's gone. Could I get it back? Sure, but the amount of work that I have to do to get it back, I'm not willing to put in, and I recognize that. It's just very interesting. So I was proud of myself, and I've been really my mom's hilarious. We were also talking about my mom's digital footprint, and I was like, all the stuff my mom sends me are stuff about Lebanon and saints and like Christian type Lebanese stuff, and then food stuff, and it's hilarious because it's so old school, and I guess she sees it and she's like, oh, Roland might like this, so she sends it my way. I was laughing, talking to my youngest about that, just saying, yeah, your grandmother, she's still living in 1960 Lebanon. Like she just is, right? Everything about her is still there, and I guess that's one of the things I really love about my mom is that she's still the mom that I had when I was a kid. She's not really changed. Her English, she has more vocabulary in English, but she still sounds like an immigrant no matter where she goes, even though she's been here since 75 kind of thing, right? So
Hmm.
it's hilarious. And when we do go to visit her, it is literally like I tell my son it's a time machine. You're going back, soak it up, everything about your grandmother, the racist things she might say, the way she says them. I'm like, she's not trying to be mean, she's not trying to be rude, she's just anchored in a place that is, the anchor's not moving. So take it for what it is, pay attention to the context, because when she's gone, it's gone. Like
Yep.
the time machine is gone. So um and I'm like, I know you don't get it, but I get it. Once my mom is gone, I don't know what happens to me in my culture, but for now it's still here.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a huge novelty when we go to my mom's and she shows us pictures of the old country and makes the food that she can still make. Both of my boys are like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm like, it's not going to last much longer because I'm not doing it.
Mm.
So soak it up every time you see her, I guess.
Yeah. I went through a phase where I wanted to learn recipes from my grandmother, and she wouldn't teach me. Yep, she wouldn't teach me. So I have a little bit of a sense of that when the culture that's I have that it's not it's a flash, right? Like it's not a full sense, but you get this sudden intuitive, deep intuitive cue that there's no going back from this moment. And part of it was, my sense of food and food story, not having access to the knowledge and wisdom that's behind the foods that I enjoyed as a child, and all the food memories, which are always emotional and powerful, right? Like there's all that cueing system as far as a smell or a look or a time of day or the way a specific vessel is always used for a certain dish. Like at a distance, you see the vessel on the table, you're like, oh, that's the mushroom dish because the mushrooms always go in that container, right? Or that's the potato plate. Um, I had a stunning sudden awareness that I'm not that I almost just have to let the moment go because it's not going to be given to me, despite the fact I'm noticing it. And I guess I've walked away from the emotions that were wrapped up in that, because I had to, because I was not going to be taught, and I asked and I asked and I asked, and it was like, okay, the next time. It's almost like the value of the emotional connection needs to be ziplocked in order for it to be, uh, what's the word? It's almost like the knowledge has to die with the person in order to remind people of how valuable it is. It's a weird it's right. It's an idiosyncrasy, but there's some weird truth there that the knowledge keepers in your family, despite the fact that they do want to do it along the path, I think there's this phenomenon that when you're at the end, it's like, nope, I can't tell you because telling you isn't the same as if you had been there along the way to show you. So sorry, but this stuff has to die with me. And I had this weird sense of that she was holding me accountable for a process that I didn't know I should have been a part of, which was spending more time with her, sort of like all that kind of stuff where that knowledge would have just kind of trickled down to me in small spoonfuls. I was asking for the full encyclopedia of it at a time where she's just like, it's too late. It's too late. But I've had to walk away. There was mourning that went along with that. I was like, yeah, damn, maybe I should have spent more time. Right. This is the process we go through in this. Maybe I should have spent more time. Maybe I should have been more open. Maybe I somehow shouldn't have been living my life at the same time you wanted to share your life with me, which is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous kind of mindset, but I think this is the human work that we go through in these moments. The woulda, shoulda, coulda. I could learn about Polish cooking quite easily from any person if I just approach them, or online now. It's everywhere. But that particular mentor path, that affinity path was like, it was closed off to me a while ago. So I get exactly what you're saying. I have a version of that exact same moment that you're talking about.
Well, dude, it's getting close to the time that you need to punch out. So I want to say thanks for a great summer school lesson today.
Well, let's even back it up for a second. Season 9 was awesome. Season 9 was awesome, right? Like we didn't do any kind of moment. So I know summer school is a part of season 9, but summer school is like, can we get to it? We mostly do. I know we're still in season 9, but there is a shift over the summer, I think. I don't know to what, but the energy of it feels. I find like even our seasons, like the school season, has a certain comfy sweater element to it. like I know even when we first started it, there was a real, we've kind of like ebbed and flowed with the number of episodes. I think we're still, conservatively floating around the 40 episode season by the time we hit the end of the summer. Um, but as far as the school part of season 9, so the last 10 months, this was a solid stretch. And stoked that, Gary and Rochelle have been a part of that. I think uh I'm happy to have a couple regular listeners, people that kind of chime in and connect. Um that and it seems to become habitual. It's partially habitual when you get a message from one of them saying, sorry, I'm not available to come out and hang with your pod today. You're in a different community than just, someone's willing to kind of say, I'd love to be there today, but I can't. And that's not just words. That's actually like they would like to be a part of the day, part of the conversation. So for sharing that little bit of intimacy, I'll say, that little bit of connectedness, I appreciate both Gary and Rochelle for being along for the ride for the summer, for the school part of Decoded this year, and happy to have them along for summer as well.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, thanks Rochelle and Gary for hanging out today. For anybody else who listened in, this was season 9, episode 37, number 385 of the Decoded podcast. Have a great weekend and a great week until we meet again next time. See ya.
Peace, man.